Welcome to the Business Transformation Pitch. I am Greg, the CX goalkeeper, bringing you conversations where transformation, leadership, and customer experience meet to create real impact. Did you know 80% of regular listeners haven't subscribed yet? If you enjoy the show, support us by hitting the subscribe button. I promise we will keep raising the bar with the guests, ideas, and strategies that really matter to you. Because in business, just like in football, this conversation could be the game changer. I am Greg's AI assistant. In this episode, Greg had the pleasure of diving into some profound discussions with Nick James at the Lead 26 conference. They talked about leadership, diversity, and the challenges of hierarchy in modern organizations. Nick shared some enlightening insights on authentic leadership and the importance of being both a strategist and a coach. The conversation around transformation and the role of serendipity in success is particularly inspiring. Enjoy the episode. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Lead 26. It's now after lunch. I think we had a great break, and now I am really keen to kick off the discussion with Nick James. Hi, Nick, how are you?
I'm great. I'm having a really good day.
How is the day going? What's your reflection of the first half day?
So my reflection is we're achieving what we wanted to do. As I said in the opening, we as a board, we wanted to create the event that we would want to go to. And fortunately, there's quite a lot of other people who also want to come as well. There's around 500 people here today. And it's been great. I've hosted some sessions, I've attended some sessions, and what's really nice is that we have the variety of different topics, different industries, viewpoints. The people who are attending the conference are engaging, plenty of good questions, tough ones, and really the insights that we want people to take away. And I'm learning, and it's fun too. So yeah, it's very good.
I can confirm it was really incredible to have some discussion with inspiring keynote speaker with other peoples from the different industry. But I think Leads 26 really means speaking about leadership, and leadership has a lot of different topics to touch. From you, what are the key learnings from this morning?
Well, one I particularly liked was Sandra DeVito from Brazzi, the lawyers company here in Switzerland. Her speaking about being a female leader in what's a relatively male-dominated both world and business, and how she really has led with this authenticity, with style. You know, she hasn't needed to become smaller or to change the way she dresses as a result of that position, despite the fact that there are some people who would have liked her to do so. And she had to go through some periods of critique and sadly, in a way which probably a male colleague would not. And what I really like is really her message to just like, look, we should not try and exclude men from the workforce. It's a matter of us working together, men and women, and to lead the change and to lead it your own way and trust that you have it, right? That your approach, the authenticity will win out over becoming smaller, different, someone you're not. And I mean, she's spot on to my mind. But that's not an easy thing to live, especially when you are the figurehead trying to transform, an organization. And yeah, that's one of my highlights, is to really exchange with her as we did in the fireside. It's like, well, what does it really feel like? You know, when you wear a red dress, are you criticized for wearing the red dress? The clients didn't criticize. Some of our colleagues did. But it's a very nice, stylish Valentino dress. She looks great. She wears it today. And I don't understand it myself, but that's the reality. That's the world. And so, yeah, that authenticity is brilliant.
And being Zurich speaking about this topic, red tie for men. If you go to any banks, you will find a lot of people with a red tie, and nobody's complaining about that.
Exactly.
You are touching one relevant topic about diversity, men, women. But what I am also really feeling in this conference and in the discussion that I am having, it's the topic about hierarchies. And a lot of companies are trying to find ways to get rid of these hierarchies. What's your view on that?
I think that the thing is that some form of hierarchy will almost always exist, right? People have explored with things like holacracy, and the experience is quite mixed. Sometimes experience really not good at all. So I think the main thing is to be able to bridge the hierarchy. Listen to the people in the organization, accept that you may not know everything, and be prepared to even make a decision that you don't really agree with yourself, but that there's enough opinion, data, that it's worth taking the risk. And I think that helps you flatten whatever hierarchy you need. And then, keep listening and keep encouraging people to take ownership. And especially in the times we live in today, we have so much disruption from AI, technology in general, disruptors entering markets. You've got tariffs, you've got geopolitical issues. As a leader, you can't know it all, right? There are people often closer to the coalface. And of course, there's a difference between really setting the strategy and the direction and the execution. Of course, listen to people when you set the strategy, but the strategy should be strategy. It should be clear. People should know it. Execution is a different story, right? People will use their creativity to get towards the strategy if it is clear and compelling. If it's confused or not compelling, then you're not going to go so well. And if you try to tell people exactly how to do it, they may not address it with the enthusiasm that they would if they really bought in and they really felt that they owned the answer and own the outcome. And I think that's kind of the point of, maybe it's just really the challenge of leadership, right? Is that it's not just telling everyone what to do, but setting a goal and a direction and having followership. If you have followership and talented people and you support them and help them to grow, then the results follow.
And I think taking the similarity to soccer, football, it's somehow the role of the coach. And yes, you are a great coach. And that's something that for me, it's really stick to me. Last year, I was at Lead 25, and you at this great organization, if you deliver a keynote, then you have a board member of the conference supporting you, coaching you, and testing you. And you are also coach. How do you see the future role of leaders, like coach, and what's make the difference?
I think it's a combination. As you touched upon, I founded 80/20 myself this year. And I do coaching, teams and individuals. I do advisory and transformation leadership. And what I always try to do is to separate pure coaching from advice. Now, I do that because I'm coaching people or teams who want to deal with an issue or take an opportunity, new job, challenge with leaders, etc. Teams forming, that kind of thing. But I do that as a formal coach. So that's different to being a leader in an organization. And I think the nuance comes in being able to use coaching skills, not formally being the coach of the team, but using the coaching skills. And I was chatting to someone earlier over lunch, and they seem to accidentally be becoming a ski coach because someone noticed that they had a very good way of relating to these children. And she started to tell me the aspects that she thought was making her good at this. And she was ticking so many of the coaching boxes. So she was listening and playing back to the children what they had said. She was not judging them. She was gently challenging them, exploring the motivation that they had. It's what we do in coaching many times. You have a surface level issue, but there's something that sits underneath. And she was picking a way to find what sat underneath. And the underneath is not obvious. I am not 10, 12 years old. I am not living in that life. But if I ask the right questions, I can understand the pressures that are on a child with social media, peer pressure, etc. And she was unpicking this. And so I was really smiling when she was explaining it to me. I was saying, well, you sound like quite a good coach already. You're doing it completely intuitively. Bring it back to the leadership side. That's what you need to do. Show people that they're heard. I mean, I've been coaching an individual recently, and she has stress with her boss. And I actually took the time to observe the two of them interacting. You know what I saw? Neither of them were hearing each other. Neither of them felt heard. This change started to happen when they heard each other. Both of them were a lot of airtime, a lot of speaking, not so much playing back what they heard from the other one. And I think that's part of it. It's like, listen, guide, and you will have advice you may wish to give. You might not want to fully impose it, though. So being a sounding board, and it speaks a bit to my own leadership style, where I was leading a team of 14 people, and I was somehow a bit the expert as well as the leader of the team. And we went through a process to empower people. Empowering them was not as easy for them as they thought it would be, because it meant accountability too. But stepping back and deciding to step back, still being a good source of guidance and advice when it's needed, but letting people flow and run with things and surprise you in a positive way of something you would never have thought about, or that they developed something you mentioned way beyond what you could have imagined. It's fantastic. And as a leader, it gave me time to be strategic, because I wasn't having to guide the team all the time. In a more micro sense, I was really able to think strategically and guide, and, there were all challenges. Things not delivered, people needed to learn, but tried to do this in a very positive way.
Thank you very much. Today, we already heard and watched a lot of presentation, and I'm quite sure that a lot of them stand out, because it's really tough process to select the keynote speaker. However, I'm quite sure that some of them were more relevant to you and to life phases. Could you share what are your learnings, what you learned from this?
Yeah. So, I led a lot of transformations in my time. And what I particularly liked was the Bueller really sticky transformation, because they rejected a lot of things that many transformations do, which is to set spectacular goals and aggressive milestones, and then try to explain around it when it doesn't really work. And then and also having a leader in Vidor that was steadfast. He stayed the course. He helped protect the team from those who might wish for the transformation to end or challenge it. And I think this was really interesting that they, in a way, they approached it in a kind of a boring way, not so showbiz. They had a big launch and a lot of excitement, but then they really tuned down to now we'd have a job to do. And the people who wanted to work and be part of it were welcome. Those that wanted to hang on were gently shooed to one side, and they could come too. And they worked on the really hard yards of winning people's hearts and minds over time. The naysayers who, at the beginning, they didn't think that they would win them over, but they did. And I think that solid, driven kind of approach to transformation, especially when it's an agile one in an industrial products company as Bueller are, right? They make equipment, which has got a lot of technology, but physical as well. It's a complex environment, delivering into an incredibly important industry, right? In food manufacture, quality, reliability are such important things. You can't mess with this. But the way they approach it, I think, is impressive. And also in Maida, who is the transformation lead, how she reinvents herself. So she disrupts herself, because she doesn't want to run the transformation forever. It would be crazy. So now she's finding her own new way. And it was just nice how generous they were in sharing how to get there and their facts. And they did it in an interesting way too. So very fresh and modern. So yeah, it was fun coaching them to get to the stage in a good way.
That's so cool, Nick, what you're sharing. And you reinvented, or you are reinventing yourself with 80/20. And the first question would be, what is 80/20? But as we already discussed on the last podcast we had together. Please quickly share the 20. And today I would like also to touch this topic. It's also about charity. We had the ICRC here. What are your thoughts about this talk?
Yes. So I didn't see the ICRC talk, unfortunately, because I was hosting a different talk, but I was very supportive of them being here. It would be easy in Zurich to focus on banking, fully commercial side of things. And as you alluded to, the 80/20, the 20 in 80/20 is 20% of my coaching time I give pro bono for social purpose, charities, individuals who can't afford it, startups who are too early stage but have a societal impact. And I think it's important to hear from that sector, because they operate often in some of the most challenging conditions. It is hard to earn money they work in environments which are volatile. And in a way like that agility of mindset to flex to the different environment and to deliver in very challenging scenarios is fundamental. And in business, we can learn from that. We don't always have crisis in front of them. Often these organizations do. Crisis is what they live. And they learn to have a process which makes a crisis not a crisis. And to be very nimble in the way that they raise money when big events happen and they deploy their very precious funds, because that's the thing. They also need to run very lean. There is no luxury in these things, and especially in today's world of social media, criticism comes very fast. So you really need to be on your game when you're running something like ICRC or some of the other charities that I've supported. It's a tough gig and one that is not always appreciated as much as perhaps it could be.
You are so right. We are coming to an end of this discussion, but as usual in a game, at the end we have some penalties, and therefore few penalties for you. Shoot quickly what pop up to your mind. Who is your business role model in business?
My role model in business? Well, I have to say that at Julius Baer, I spent quite a bit of time with Philip Rickenbacker. And he impressed me because he was probably one of the few CEOs of a large company who I could block and tackle with, actively discussing the transformation, agile, etc. And he made the time to do that as a CEO. Now, that for me was very impressive because many people in his position would not see it as their role to actually debate how the agility should be lived in their bank. And of course, and you think about it, it's fundamental if you really think you're going to be an agile organization. But there's not many who would actually properly challenge me. And that I like. I don't, the challenge for challenge's sake, I don't welcome. But the challenge based on content, approach, philosophy, the big picture, that was great. So Philip was an inspiration. And when I left the bank, he said something nice, which was like, look, your future will be decided by serendipity. And at the time, I wasn't so confident that serendipity would deliver. But in the end, it absolutely has. He was right. And, if you're out there and authentic and you listen and explore what you're great at and where the market sits, and you can find that intersection, keep exploring, keep trying different things, then serendipity is certainly delivering.
It's the way to go. What's your transformation superpower?
So my transformation superpower, I think, really centers around the way I lead, in that I do like being on stage. I don't desire it particularly, but I'm very comfortable there. But that doesn't mean I need to be the superstar in all of the transformation. So actually, I'm quite happy to step back and let my team lead, to shine. Of course, I need to be there as part of the constellation. And actually, it's an interesting anecdote from one of the executive leadership team of ABN AMRO put it. Someone said to him once when he was being shadowed by a junior person, it's like, look, you're usually operating like the sun. You shouldn't be the sun. Be the moon. Have an influence, but not everything has to revolve around you. And I think that was an amazing anecdote, because actually it sort of characterizes how I like to lead as well. I don't need to be the superstar. I have a vision. I am happy for people to challenge me on it. I know roughly where we're going. I'm happy to guide and influence, a bit like the moon does, influence the tides. But I don't have to make every decision. And I'm much happier when my team is shining. And maybe that informs a bit what I do now, is that I love my clients to shine. It's not my job to do their work for them. They have to grow themselves and take the challenge and confront some difficult things. Usually we have some fun with it as well, as you might be able to tell, but it's their job, and when they're successful, I'm very happy.
So cool. What's your preferred vibe from this conference?
My vibe? The vibe I have is really energy. The energy that you hear when the coffee breaks are on, the way that people ask great questions, and people are happy to ask them themselves, not just through the mentee. This is really nice. And what you can see is that we have a super diverse population here. And the event is at the right size where people can find each other and exchange with different people. Other events are so packed, you cannot talk to anyone or find anyone. But here we've got, I think, just the nice measure of people to space, and people are just exchanging and meeting each other and finding those little bits of golds, those little trinkets they can take home, a tip about how to do this, or a contact that they'll connect afterwards to exchange on a topic a bit further. That's the magic of this. We have the speeches and they're great, right, for the same reason. But the networking is really important, and we actually made more time for networking this year. The lunch break was extended exactly for that purpose, and I think people really love that.
Yes, I can confirm that. But now I am quite keen to ask the next question, because we touch a lot of topics speaking about serendipity, about being the moon and not the sun, and we are coming to Nick's golden nugget. It's something that we discussed, or something new to leave to the audience from this conference?
So I think in these times and the ones that are coming, the ability to be comfortable being uncomfortable is going to be key. It's something I worked on quite some time ago, was to embrace and accept the scenarios that you happen to be in. You may feel the discomfort, but don't let it paralyze you. And I think a lot of people, they can be paralyzed by this, and it is a time when you need to take action. Get out of that comfort zone, take some decisions. It's better than making no decision, and make decisions that are allowing you to inspect, adapt it, to feel the feedback in a way, and be okay to change course. It's not all about being right the first time. It's about taking the first step and then see where you go from there. So yeah, be comfortable being uncomfortable.
Nick, thank you very much for this discussion, or I could say for this coaching, and for the great opportunity to be part of Lead 26. Thank you very much.
My pleasure. Thank you.
That's all for today. If you enjoyed this episode, please spread the word. It really helps. And remember, 80% of regular listeners haven't subscribed yet. If you enjoyed the show, the easiest way to support us is by hitting that subscribe button. I promise we will keep raising the bar with the guests, ideas, and strategies that matter most to you. Until next time, never forget, we are not in B2B or B2C, we are in H2H, human to human environment. Thank you.